What is going on, guys? Happy Friday. Welcome back to another episode of Closing the Deal. I am one of your hosts, Zach Dixon, and sitting across from me on the screen is my co host, Samuel Enright. How's it going?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Fantastic. Fantastic. I am super excited for our episode today. Doing another step away from real estate a little bit and touching on a little bit of our best of series in Central Ohio. So, our first best of in the series was golf courses. Today, we are talking about restaurants. So, super excited. I feel like a little bit of a food slash restaurant connoisseur here in Central Ohio. Try to get out and try as much as possible. Some hole in the wall spots, stuff that maybe not everybody hears of on a mainstream notice here in Central Ohio. So super excited for this episode. Have tried a lot of different things and I'm going to share some new things with the audience here. So super excited.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of looked at the list you put together, and I was like, "There's some things on here I've never even heard of." For those that don't know, Zach works in what I would call basically downtown Columbus area, and I actually work in Newark, so I'm a little bit less, um, maybe the word's cultured as to what is going on down there in the food slash restaurant scene. So I know he's put me on to a couple of good places, so I'm definitely going to trust his recommendations because we've gone to dinner at a couple places so far that I've never been to, and they definitely lived up to the hype. So I did do a little bit of research on some of these things that you put on here. I'm like, oh, this definitely looks like a little hole in the wall spot that probably is going to produce some pretty good food. So
Yeah, working down in Grandview, which is right outside of downtown Columbus, suburb of Columbus. There's not very many chains down there, to be honest with you. A little bit, obviously you have your fast food chains and Chipotle and like Bibi Bop and stuff like that, but there's not a lot of, chains as a whole. It's mostly just, mom and pop, small business, starting a restaurant and working there for the next 50 years. Like there's one that actually just closed a couple of weeks ago, I believe. It's called the Pantry, Paul's Pantry, that was open since the 50s down in Grandview on Fifth Avenue. And just mom and pop. If you walk in, it's literally exactly what you would expect like a 70s diner to look like. Here and still into 2025, it still looked that to this day. It's kind of like you were stepping into a time capsule. But that unfortunately just closed. But there's just a lot of those type restaurants in Grandview that my broker, is really familiar with. So he's put me onto a lot of things, and then just stepping out and trying some different things as well. So, obviously, just like I just mentioned, the growth in Central Ohio, just on the population scale, is pretty much correlating with the food industry and restaurant industry as well here in Central Ohio. I feel like every week there's a new restaurant opening on the corner of Fifth and in Northwest Boulevard down in Grandview. I mean, even near us here in New Albany, the whole Hamilton quarter is filled with new restaurants and things like that. They just put a Texas Roadhouse in, putting a new one in right there on the corner. I don't even know what that is, like a Firebirds or something like that, maybe.
no, it's actually going to be a steak and seafood place. I
Really?
drove by the other day, and yeah, there was a little sign. It said some sort of like how they name the place, like like Mitchell's Steakhouse or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like it's something. It's not Mitchell's obviously, but it's like a name or something. I don't know, but I saw steak and seafood, so should probably be a little bit more of like a little bit of an upscale than what is typically provided over there because I don't think they have a whole lot of upscale necessarily in that area.
For sure, I agree with that. Maybe working back into New Albany a little bit, like the city area, but not
Yeah.
really Hamilton Quarter area. But even going back like east to Newark too, like the restaurant scene is exploding over there too. We moved from Newark in 2019 up to Columbus, and I feel like just in the last 6 years, there's been so many new restaurants that have opened up. Even on that kind of mom and pop scale too, just not necessarily chains, but just one-offs, make really good food, have really good service, and continue to grow that way. So super excited to try some of those other ones out there in Newark as well. But overall, just feel like the restaurant scene, food scene here in Central Ohio is historically not as high as something like a New York or a Chicago or a Detroit even. But, with the population growth, I think that we might get there one day here in the next, 20, 30 years or so. Very, very underrated in my opinion here in Central Ohio.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave you to that. You're the expert in that area. So I definitely want to obviously immerse myself a little bit more. There's definitely some places on this list that I'm gonna try myself personally. Just to get out there. But yeah, I mean, who doesn't love food? So I mean, we figured it would be a great topic to discuss. If you are in Central Ohio, if you're closer to Newark, I think we're gonna have a little bit of a mix of just really everything in between, of just things that we're familiar with or places that we like. And, I'm sure you've heard of a lot of them, and some of them you probably haven't heard of. So, get out there and try some new stuff.
For sure, for sure. And I don't know if a lot of our listeners are familiar with diners, dive-ins, and drives. Obviously, my guy Ferrari, he's a expert with the hole in the wall spots across the country. He's made countless visits here to Columbus. He was actually born here in Columbus too, which is pretty cool. But he has made countless visits to restaurants here in Columbus. Loops is one of my favorites. We're probably going to talk about that a little bit later on. That's down in Grandview. He's been he's been to Loops. He's been to High Bank Distillery, which now has 3 locations here in Columbus. He's been to Wario's Sandwich Shop, which is in downtown and also in Clintonville. He's been to Tommy's Diner, which is in Upper Arlington and on Lane Avenue on Ohio State's campus. And then he's also been to Catalina's, which is a breakfast spot in Harrison West, Short North area, and then as well as Clintonville. I have been to 4 of those 5, and I am hoping to check off that 5th one in Wario's here soon. I've seen countless reels and TikToks of what Wario's sandwiches look like, and they look absolutely fantastic. Their location downtown is right across the street from the Blue Jackets Arena. And so that would be a good little stop right before the Blue Jackets game. If you're ever in the Arena District checking out the Blue Jackets, or maybe even the Crew or the Clippers as well, all of those sports events. It's a good little stop right before the game. So, all in all, like I just mentioned with the growth, it's very diverse too. There's a huge food truck scene in Columbus. If you go to any corner, literally, if there's a parking lot, you can likely find a food truck in that parking lot. Just thinking about Grandview, and when I drive to work, I probably see 3 or 4 just on my commute as soon as I get off 315 into Grandview, just 3 or 4 right away. Cucho Hernandez, which was he was a striker for the Columbus Crew. He put out a little list of his favorite spots in Columbus, and his number 1 favorite spot was literally a food truck that sits in the parking lot of a gas station in Grandview. And so it's like you can find all of these really, really good spots in locations that you probably wouldn't even think about, if you were just driving along the road. So hole in the wall spots are very, very abundant here in Columbus. That is for sure. And most specifically, I know that we tried to attend a taco festival downtown near Cosi last year. And that kind of gave us a glimpse as to how big the food truck scene and how big, the food scene in Columbus as a whole has gotten. We showed up and there was probably no less than 10,000 people there. And likely around 50 or so taco specific food trucks. And so it was gigantic. We didn't even get the chance to eat any tacos because there were so many people there. It was absolutely crazy. Not something that we expected, I don't think, but going forward, I definitely think we can expect that because, that's just, again, the growth in Central Ohio, just all in all, it's across all industries, across all platforms. So that was a fun experience. That's for sure.
Yeah, we had some good laughs down there for sure, cracking some jokes. And I mean, you just gotta kind of make the best out of situations like that when you when you go in with the wrong expectations and those do not live up to that hype sort of thing. So yeah, it was absolutely packed. I did not expect that myself personally. So, and moving forward, I would say you know what you're getting yourself into if you decide to attend some stuff like that. So be prepared. Be prepared for some wait times, that sort of thing.
I'm pretty sure every single food truck there literally had a line of at least 20 people. It was crazy. Just
Yeah.
everybody.
No. It is crazy. We actually went to, I mean, it's not food necessarily, but we went to a coffee festival later last year, like October time, beginning of October, and it was kind of the same thing. Like you're just taste testing coffee, different espressos and stuff, and it's just line after line after stand after stand. It's crazy, man. The amount of people that these sort of like festivals and stuff can bring out, in the Columbus area. It really kind of puts things into perspective for you, just kind of like from a population standpoint. It is it's easy to kind of get lost in that a little bit, when you go through your day-to-day life, and then you go to like these events, you're like, holy crap, there's a lot of people that love coffee, or a lot of people that love tacos, you know what I mean? So it's just it's insane sometimes.
For sure. And even in our industry, dealing with, people literally moving into the area or living in the area, like it can go under the radar to even us, in this industry where we see the migration happen in real time. So a little bit crazy for sure. But I think the way we're gonna kind of structure this episode, all in all, is just kind of break it out by category. We're gonna, list our favorite restaurants or most notable restaurants in specific categories. Kind of gonna talk about fine dining a little bit, casual, of course, pizza, international cuisine, breakfast and brunch, and then maybe a little bit into the hidden gem area as well. So let's get started with our fine dining. This is the rock that I'm going to stand on forever, no doubt about it. You can't take me to a better fine dining institution here in Columbus, Ohio, than Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse downtown. The food is fantastic. Number one, I can't even get past that. I've never had anything but a steak there, because it is just so freaking good. Like, there was really no steak that I've ever had that is better than a Jeff Ruby steak. It's perfectly prepared. It's always correctly temperatured as well. I've always, if you order a medium steak and you get a well done steak, you're automatically crossed off on my list. That's for sure. It's always cooked perfectly. And then obviously the outside of it is always crispy and tender. It's just perfect all in all. But I think the biggest reason that I like Jeff Ruby's so much is the ambiance as a whole. You feel like you're kind of stepping into a 1920s speakeasy type of establishment. And it's really, really cool. It's always low lighted in there, no matter what time of the day you're in. And so it just makes you feel like, you're at a real fine dining establishment. I've been to numerous steakhouses, but numerous steakhouses here in the city, and that number one is taking the crown for sure. Honorable mention, Tucci's in Dublin, in Old Town Dublin, is really, really good. The Memorial Tournament is a PGA Tour event that's held in Dublin every single year. A lot of those PGA Tour guys, you can catch them at Tucci's throughout the week on a Tuesday, Wednesday night before the tournament. It's a really good establishment. And then out in Newark, on the Square, 1922 on the Square, is a really, really nice, kind of newer fine dining restaurant as well. A little bit on the pricier side for Newark in general, but it's a really good place to take the family for a nice evening out for sure. And then obviously got some other stuff on the Square you can get into afterwards as well. So, how about you, Sam? What are the fine dining options here in Central Ohio looking like for you?
Well, I just want to say, I've been to two of those places. I've not been to Tucci's myself personally. I have been to Jeff Ruby's. We actually went on New Year's Eve for a dinner with your wife and my fiance. And so Zach is not exaggerating. The ambiance in there is absolutely, like, I think probably the best part about it. Obviously, the food was amazing. That's not to be a knock on the food, but it was really cool just to get in there. It really does feel like, kind of a 1920 speakeasy. And when I went there, I didn't really know what was coming to mind, but now that he says that here, it's like, okay, that like is like a perfect description of what it is. But yeah, just a really cool place and good ambiance. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely one of the best steaks I've ever had. So for me personally, fine dining, I'm going to go with one that I guess maybe, I don't know if this is a little bit more mainstream or I've always loved J. Alexander's. It's a little bit on the, what I would say, probably cheaper side for Columbus when it comes to the fine dining scene. Now it's still pricey, but my parents took me there. I used to ask to go to dinner there when I was like, 18 or like 17, 16. And, it was my birthday. They're like, where do you want to go to dinner? I'm like, I want to go to J. Alexander's. Like at that time, like it was the epitome of like the best food that I could have. And it'll just always have a special place in my heart. It's really kind of just like J. Alex or, Jeff Ruby's, where it's low lit, you gotta get that, that fine dining ambiance in there. And, I've always just really liked it. So J. Alexander's, if you haven't, check it out. The Maui steak is probably one of my favorite dishes on the entire menu. So that's usually what I would go there and get. And then last October, we actually went to Hyde Park, which I think is another place that Zach's been that he recommended to me. And it was amazing. I had like this dry aged, like 28-ounce or 26-ounce ribeye. It's called, I can't remember. I think it was the Ryan Day or something. One of the coaches from Ohio State, that was the name of it there. But I mean, this steak was absolutely massive. And it was, which I don't know exactly what goes into the process of dry aging meat, but when it came out, like it had this crust and like this, it was one of the best steaks I've ever had, bar none. So that place definitely, um, holds a special place in my heart for sure. So I would definitely recommend going there, getting yourself a steak. For those of you who are curious, no, I did not eat all 28 ounces in one sitting. I did come pretty close. I'd probably say it was around like 18, 20 ounces that I downed, but I took the rest home to eat it later. But I mean, it was a really good steak. So those are my two. And again, one of those is just like just more of, just a place that just holds just a little bit of a special meaning in my heart with J. Alexander's, because it's just that first experience you get with some fine dining, and you just really never forget that. So
I was about to put the house on the fact that you ate the entire steak in one sitting. I can't lie to you.
Hey, it was close. If we didn't get so many sides, in a salad to start, probably would have gotten a lot closer. So, yeah, for those that don't know, I do eat a lot. It's just how I get down, I guess. I don't know.
It's that bread to begin with. That bread fills you up quick. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I'm telling
yeah.
you.
You find a way to push through,
For
when
sure.
when you're dedicated.
For sure. But yeah, Jeff Ruby, I just wanted to backtrack a little bit. Jeff Ruby's actually has locations, a couple of other spots in the country. They are located in Cincinnati, have spots in Nashville, also in Lexington, Kentucky, I do believe. So kind of stuck here in the Midwest, but he has kind of a following across the country. I don't know. Chris Collinsworth, who is a former NFL player, played for the Cincinnati Bengals. He now calls the Sunday night football games for NBC. He has a steak named after him on that menu. Joe Burrow has a steak named after him on that menu. Kirk Herbstreit has a steak named after him on that menu. So he is definitely well known throughout the restaurant industry in the country, even though he only has really locations here in the Midwest. So um, moving on to our next category, we are going to be discussing a little bit more of the casual vibe. And the one that takes the crown for me on the casual vibe is going to be North Star Cafe. Um, it's a little bit more on the pricier side for a casual dinner, but the food is absolutely fantastic. It's all naturally sourced and locally sourced, no additives. So that's a big thing for me. Is I hate additives in my food and my drinks. They have none of that. All grass fed beef, which is fantastic. The burger is one of the best burgers in the city, in my opinion, and it's not even really a burger joint, which is crazy. But it's well seasoned, and the bread is something to die for as well. So that's going to be my number one favorite casual. That location is actually at Easton, and they also have one in Westerville and in Clintonville as well. That's another one that's kind of in my heart as well. My mom took me there for the first time when I was like, I don't know, 10 or 12 years old or so, and ever since then it is just stuck with me forever. It was actually one of me and my wife's first dates actually as well. So pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
Pretty cool little spot that we go to still pretty regularly, to be honest, as well. So my next one is going to be High Bank Distillery. Already kind of touched on that a little bit with diners, drive-ins, and dives. It's actually a full distillery down in Grandview. Make their own vodka, make their own whiskey. They actually won Best North American Whiskey like 3 or 4 years running. And so all of that being homemade in Grandview is really, really cool, but they have some really good food as well. Now have a couple of other locations, one in Gehenna and one in Westerville as well. But most of, or all of their buildings are kind of like old warehouse buildings. So the ambiance in there is kind of cool as well. Not necessarily fine dining as well, but just, casual. It just makes it feel like a really, really big area when it's not necessarily like floor size big. It's just, a big building and kind of just makes the ambiance feel a little bit different in there. But they actually do brunch as well. So that's going to be on my brunch list later because the brunch is fantastic. One of the best chicken sandwiches I've ever had by far, bar none, at High Bank, and have some really good drinks as well. Past the vodka and whiskey. Have some good beers as well. So um, last on my list for the casual is going to be Loops. Like I just mentioned as well with the diners, drive-ins, and dives. Guy Fieri made a stop there. Loops is a local restaurant run by two brothers. They are from Chicago, so it is really just all Chicago/Italian food. And they actually do Greek stuff as well. They do, gyros and Chicago beef hot dogs and all of those different types of things. But the Euro over there is fantastic. They have a spiral thing that you watch them cut it off of, and it's all in all just really, really good. And the fries over there with the tzatziki sauce, it's fantastic. So they have a big old poster right there in the middle of their restaurant with Guy Fieri's signature and a picture of them together. So a pretty cool little spot for sure. Hole in the wall. You'd kind of miss it if you're not looking on the corner of King Avenue and Northwest and Grandview. So pretty good little spot for sure. For sure. So how about you though, on the casual side? What are you looking for casual here in
Yeah,
Central Ohio?
this is probably going to be more basic than everything you just listed, to be honest with you. But I do want to say North Star. Obviously, I've been there, very good. Been to High Bank Distillery as well. That's a really cool spot, like Zach touched on. It's like almost like an industrial build, like you said, industrial building. So it's definitely like a cooler ambiance in there as well. North Star Cafe also does breakfast. My fiance is like obsessed with like the brunch there. So if you think it's just dinner, it's not. It's got you covered for like the whole day. And I've been to North Star as well. Very, very good. You cannot go wrong with really anything on their menu. So for me, casual. I mean, casual for me starts with Roosters, which again probably very basic, but I mean it when you go somewhere and they just never really do any wrong, it's really hard to have them move down the list on your list of good food. So I mean, it's more of a casual, laid back bar food type deal. They do wings, burgers, pizzas, you know, they have some great appetizers. Actually, that's probably part of the reason why a lot of people love to go there in general is because it's like the only place that you ever consistently go to where you're always getting an appetizer, like no matter what. Like there's been some places you just sit down, yeah, I'll just take the burger, or whatever. This place, you're like, no, you're not leaving Roosters without having some appetizers. So they got some great selection of just really any type of food that you want. But that's a popular spot for us. Ultimately, our friend group in general, we always going to Roosters whenever we get a chance. So another one for me is Elliot's, and Elliot's has, in my opinion, some of the better pizza. Like if you're not getting like delivery or like an actual joint that is about pizza, they have this big wood fire stove that they cook their pizza on. They have this chicken bacon ranch pizza that is just absolutely smacking in my opinion. So I really enjoy Elliot's. They have a location in Newark. I know they have one in Pataskala, and I don't know if they're coming out with another one or if they already have one, but I know those are the two they have right now for sure.
Maybe in Gehenna, I think there's a third one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't sure Gehenna, or I thought maybe New Albany was where they were coming with that one. I think they might have one in New Albany. All right. I don't know. You guys will have to fact check me on that one because I'm not entirely sure. But the one I've been to is the Newark one. I've actually never been to the Pataskala or the other locations. But Elliot's, I think they have great wood-fired pizza. So if you're into that sort of thing, I would definitely check them out. They also do they do some entrees. I think they have like some salmon dishes and chicken dishes and some things like that. They also do tacos, like street tacos, and then they have a good selection of appetizers as well as lots of beers and different things on tap. So definitely a cool place. Check it out if you've never been. And yeah, I really like the pizza, so that's what I would recommend. And then the last one is a place that I've been a couple of times. I've enjoyed it every time I went. And I actually have two more, but I'm going to save the last one for a hidden gem because I was reminded last night about it. But Broadway Pub in Granville has some really good food when it comes to like just the casual side of things. I think Granville's pretty cool because their downtown is, I guess still a little bit aged, and you kind of get, just like a little bit of a step back in time, like Zach talked about, with just the different ambiances. And if you'll probably notice that's a big thing for us when it comes to our food choices is like, how does it, when you walk in, how do you feel? Because I think that's important as well. So they have some great food, got burgers, the whole nine of what you can expect from a normal casual joint. So I would say Broadway Pub in Granville, another great spot to check out.
And Granville as a whole is pretty cool. All in all, just that area, like you mentioned, it's walkable. Everything's in walking distance, and you can get to one spot to the next. You can go to your Broadway pub, and then go to Wits down the road and get your ice cream. There's a lot of good spots in Granville too, for sure. But yeah, all three of those spots are spots that I love as well. Roosters is always a go to every time, no matter what. Going back to high school, even after
Yeah.
every single football game, after every single basketball game, we'd head over to the Roost and get our 10 boneless wings and have those for the rest of the night. You know what I mean? So a lot of
Oh
good feelings at
gosh.
the Roost for sure. But there are locations pretty much everywhere in Central Ohio. Every suburb pretty much has a Roosters location. It is a Central Ohio thing. It's a chain, yes, but it is only located here in Central Ohio. So pretty cool, and they are a big sponsor of Ohio State athletics and local stuff. So always
I mean,
appreciate them for that as well.
yeah, it's good. I mean, I have two siblings that live out of state, and when they come home, that's where we go. We're going to Roosters at least once. You know what I mean? Because they just they don't have places like that. Outside of I guess I'm sure they have places like that, but not as good. Outside where they're living. So that's always one of the stops they want to make when they come back home is let's all get together and go to Roosters. So that's always cool.
For sure, for sure. So moving on to our next category is going to be pizza. My number one is a little bit of a nostalgic as well, just from childhood living in Newark. Plaza Pizza is absolutely bar none my number one favorite pizza of all time. It's a very it's a very no, it's not necessarily like a Detroit deep dish or like a Chicago deep dish. It's a very large pie, in small pieces and whatnot. Kind of more of a New York style, but not gigantic triangle slices. But it's fantastic. It really is. I think at some point maybe the recipe changed throughout my life here. I think it maybe was something different when I was a kid. It may be not as good right now, but it's still my number one, bar none, no matter what. So another one out there in the Newark area is going to be Pizza Cottage. There are locations, other areas here in Central Ohio, Buckeye Lake, Pickerington. I think there's actually one in Powell now, which is kind of crazy, but they have the best BLT pizza by far, bar none. Cannot go to Pizza Cottage without getting the BLT pizza. Some places do their BLT pizza without a top on top, and so they just leave it open. I think that's what makes Pizza Cottage the best is they put an extra layer, like another dough layer on top to make it, actually like a sandwich type BLT pizza, and it is just absolutely fantastic. The mayo proportion on there. I know you're not a big mayo guy, and I know you're not a big
Oh,
tomato.
I am big mayo
Oh,
guy. I'm
tomato,
not tomato guy.
tomato guy,
Yeah,
tomato guy.
you got to
Yeah,
keep that stuff out there.
yeah. But the mayo proportions on there with the tomato is just, ooh, it's perfect. It really is. It
I'll
really
take the
is.
BL for sure, for sure. You can keep the T. I don't need all that. But no, seriously though, he is not lying. Yeah, that BLT pizza from Pizza Cottage. The two things you just named are like staples for me growing up as well. Like my mom is originally from Newark area, and so they loved Plaza. But you are correct; it did sell a few years back, and I'm pretty sure the recipe changed when they did that. My dad always described the crust as like cracker crust
Yes.
because it was just super thin. It would like break and stuff. It's probably the best. it's probably one of my favorite pizzas of all time for sure. And just because, like you said, that just nostalgic feeling as well. But yeah, I think it's a hit or miss. My dad was never a big fan of the Plaza Pizza, but everybody else in my family, we loved it. So that was always a common staple.
For sure. It was a good one. That one that and Deborah's was always the staple as a kid too. We always got the Deborah's over there by Owens Corning. So I don't know if that one's still there or not either, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the last one on my list is going to be one that I mentioned already with diners, drive-ins, and dives. Tommy's Diner, there in UA. Again, another mom and pop like pizza shop that opened in the 50s that is still running to this day. And again, if you step in there, it really feels like you're stepping into a time capsule back in the 1950s. Some really good pizza and just really good service all in all. It's just if you're looking for a mom and pop restaurant to support, that is definitely one of them. So, and also check out Guy Fieri's, diners, drive-ins, and dive episodes for all of these spots, and it'll give you a good glimpse as to what they look like when they're making your food and all the service that they give too. So,
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, honestly, ever since moving away from Newark, I haven't really dove too deep into the pizza scene, but there is one spot. I remember we asked for suggestions like, hey, we're looking for mom and pop shops around, New Albany, Westerville, Gahanna area with some good pizza. And one of those that came recommended was Eagles Pizza in New Albany. And we've had it. It is delicious. It's one of, I mean, again, if you're not looking for chain pizza, your Donatos, your Domino's, all that sort of stuff, you're looking for mom and pop. I don't think you can go wrong with Eagles. It's delicious pizza. And then another one on my list that I didn't really have on there until I just thought about it, but Christie's Pizza in Newark. I don't know. You got to be a certain type of person. So if you like sweet sauce on your pizza, then this is the spot for you. If you're somebody who's like, yeah, I cannot do sweet sauce on my pizza, then probably steer clear. But Christie's I think it's amazing. I don't mind sweet sauce on my pizza. I think it's delicious. So that's another place down in Newark that I would definitely check out. It's downtown. Um, Great pizza. If you're into sweet sauce, check it out if you haven't already.
couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. That's definitely one of my honorable mentions for pizza for sure. For sure. Moving into our next category is international. So we're kind of going to be touching on a few different types of food in this category. Number one for me in the international category, by far, my favorite type of food is Mexican food. Yo soy mexicano en mi corazón. I'm Mexican at heart. So I love my Mexican food, and Los Huachos here in Columbus takes the crown for me. The best tacos in the city, bar none. They have the best El Pastor, which is a seasoned pork, and they actually put pineapple on the tacos as well with cilantro and onion. It is fantastic. Their hot salsa that they throw on there as well is great. And then pair that with a Mexican bottled Coke, you really cannot go wrong. They actually run buy one, get one free taco specials on Monday nights. And so if we don't have anything to eat on Monday night, that is going to be my first suggestion always. Can get 6 tacos for like $9, which is absolutely crazy. It's a steal. So that one's a really good one. Another really good one is Martha's Fusion Kitchen. That is located in Linden. That one is a really, really big hole in the wall. Again, you wouldn't know it if you didn't see it. I only found out about it because I joined a taco connoisseur Facebook group, and they were in there talking about it, giving it really, really good reviews. And so I went and tried it out, and it was absolutely fantastic. Their birria tacos are just chef's kiss. Absolutely perfect. So it's a little bit further of a drive for us. It's like 20 minutes or so to and from. And they actually had a lot of struggles getting started. They had a fire in their restaurant. They did a rehab in their restaurant after the fire, and it took entirely too long, like a lot longer than they had originally planned for. So they were closed for like 2.5 years. And so now they're trying to build their, client base back up, and being able to support them at any point is a good thing. So really good food, really enjoyable, and definitely near the top of my list too. One of my, I like it. I do like it. But my wife's favorite spot here in the city, bar none, is Slurping Turtle at Easton. That is a, kind of like an Asian ramen type of restaurant. They serve sushi as well. They do stir fries. Really, really good. The broth of the ramen is to die for. It really is. If you go in there on a winter day, like something below freezing, 20 degrees or so, and you just take a spoonful of that broth and drink that, you're going to warm right up. And it is just fantastic. So, also, if you have a little bit of sinus issues, if you take a drink of that broth, your sinus issues are going to be gone right away. No doubt about it. So, really good restaurant. Really like it as well. But definitely my wife's number one favorite as well. So,
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I second you there on the Mexican being my favorite. That's the go-to. I actually tried to find some on this list to put, and my brain just, it was not working. It was not cooperating with me. So I'll probably have to check those spots out. We actually, my fiance's sister goes to college up in Cleveland, and we've been up there the last 2 times we've been. She took us to 2 different types of like Mexican restaurants, and one of them is called Tequila, and it is like a Chipotle, but like just completely different. Like the burritos are massive, and it's different types of rice, different types of meat, and it was phenomenal. And then she took us to another one. So those 2 were like so imprinted on my brain that like I could not think of anything that was better than that in this area. And so obviously this is Central Ohio, so I'm not gonna make recommendations when the two are up north that far. But if you're ever in Cleveland, yeah, check those out. I would say the one international for me, this is another staple in my family. Like this is where we go for birthdays. This is where most of the time people want to eat, and that's kanji. It's not my overall favorite type of restaurant, but if you're into like Japanese steakhouse, it's definitely one of the best ones I've ever been to. I think their Yum Yum is the best. We've been to a couple in Columbus. They're not bad. Like we've been to Beniana. We've been to I can't remember what that other one was called. They're not bad, but I mean, I'm choosing kanji 10 times out of 10 when it comes to that. And that's a little spot, Heath, like slash Newark area. I don't know exactly where it falls on the city lines, but it's on 30th Street, and it's always delicious. They do the big fire right in front of you, and sends your nostril hairs and those sort of things. And so the food always tastes good. Fried rice, can't go wrong. Always get like steak or chicken, and the Yum Yum is what makes it. So in my personal opinion, if you're in a Japanese steakhouse like that, check out kanji. That's the spot to be, in my opinion.
yeah, that's a pretty good one. It's something similar that was up here in Columbus that is no longer open. It's called Gingy. That was a really, really good one. That held a special place in my heart as well as a kid. It was located right next to my mom's office when I was younger. And so we would go there for special occasions, and unfortunately not open any longer, but they do have like a to-go restaurant called Gingy Go that's available. So kind of the same, but it's not really the same as they're not cooking right in front of you. But the food is definitely not the same either as if they were cooking it right in front of you as well. So I would second the kanji on the traditional hibachi cook it right in front of you experience. Haven't really found
Yeah,
anything better than that here in Columbus either. So
for sure. Well, now we're getting to what personally is probably my favorite part, because I mean, can never go wrong with breakfast food or brunch. Like that's probably my favorite meal of the day. There's just so many options. There's so many different things you could do. So Zach, why don't you kick us off with some of your top recommendations for breakfast slash brunch places?
for sure. My number one is going to be a very, very hole in the wall spot in Utica, Ohio, which is about 15 minutes north, 10 minutes north of Newark itself. Um, if you get there at 8:30 on a Saturday, you are going to be late by far. You're not getting a table because it is hole in the wall. You probably have that max of 15 tables in there. But they make some of the best breakfast food. I'm not a big sausage gravy guy, but the sausage gravy out there is to die for as well. That one's a really good one. Again, you got to make sure that you get out there on time if you're planning on going, because if you're a little bit late, you're not going to get in. So,
Did you, maybe I missed it, but did you say what it was? I don't know if you said it's early birds.
Early birds, early birds.
I think you just said, yeah, a restaurant in, up in Utica. Never said what it was called.
All right, gang. It is called Early Birds. Fantastic restaurant. I'm telling you guys. Um,
No, it is for sure. Can attest to that.
the second one in Newark is going to be Big Apple Cafe. They actually now have two different locations as well. The breakfast sandwich is one of my favorites there. The original one is over by, it's on Church Street, kind of by the 16, and where you get on 16 there. And then the second one is now by Walmart on 21st Street in that little shopping center there. So pretty good breakfast spot. Again, if you want to go and you're going on a weekend, make sure that you get there on time. If you're going right after the church rush, you're probably not going to get a seat for a while, unfortunately. Moving on to a couple spots here in Columbus, Catalina's. I already touched on that one a little bit with diners, drive-ins, and dives. That one was actually recommended to me by my great aunt, who graduated from Ohio State back in the 70s. And so she recommended that to me because it was there when she went to school. And it is still standing there in Harrison West, which is just west of the Short North and just south of campus area in Columbus. So really good kind of building that's like an inside outside type of thing, so it works a little bit better in the spring and summertime to head over there, but it's a really nice ambiance if you get some outdoor seating and have breakfast on a nice little spring morning. So they have like donut balls there that are just mouth watering. They really are. So already touched on a little bit with High Bank. That one's a really good one. High Bank and North Star kind of go hand in hand with the breakfast slash brunch. They do, like we mentioned, food all day long, but their breakfast and brunch is really good. A lot of different options, kind of, American style breakfast or so. So some of my favorite spots. Really tried to, like you mentioned, get out and get to breakfast a little bit more than we get to dinner. I think just I love a good breakfast when it's made for me too, especially. So
Yeah, breakfast is the best. So, I mean, Zach already touched on two that I would have put on my list personally. Early Birds, Big Apple, both great places. Kind of fit that kind of hole in the wall description. And I'm going to break the rules a little bit and go a little bit off of what is just available here in Central Ohio. This is available pretty much everywhere. I mean, I know we literally had breakfast here in Florida. So First Watch is just one of my favorites. So it's hard not to put it on the list because, again, it kind of fits like, Zach was talking about that, farm fresh, sort of vibe with North Star Cafe. And that's kind of the same thing with First Watch. I feel like their food is always great quality. They get creative in there with sort of the dishes that they come up with for breakfast. And so it always blows my mind. I've had different things. I've tried different things, that my fiance orders, those sort of things. And I really have never had anything in there that's been disappointing. So they'll even do, some breakfast drinks for you if you want, mimosas, those sort of things. And they have some good juices. I always get like this kale juice in there with like some, super vitamins or something like that, but it always tastes pretty good. But yeah, I mean, First Watch for me, I would definitely check that out. No matter where you are in the States, you should be able to find one of those.
for sure, definitely rock with that one as well. The mint drink. What's the mint drink? Have you ever had that one?
I don't think so. No,
It's
I usually it's called like Fuji Apple or something like that. Is the one kale Fuji Apple or something.
there's a mint type of drink that's on the same kind of scale as that. But that one's a really good one as well. So
Yeah,
can't go wrong with First Watch. If there's a First Watch around and there's nothing else around, that is absolutely going to be bar none the choice. So
100%. Well, we got the last and final segment, which is hidden gems. So, Zach, you want to kick us off here with a couple of yours?
for sure, there are some really good ones. Honestly, I think that we can probably find some more too. Obviously, there's always exploration to be done in your place of residence for sure. But Thurman's Cafe in Columbus, it's on the south side, kind of German Village, Marion Village, kind of where they meet. Um, that one is it's definitely a hole in the wall type of cafe serving your American style bar food, but it has the biggest burger I think I've ever seen in my entire life. When I say it's from the top of my head to like the base of my neck, I'm not exaggerating. Like it is genuinely this big, and I don't know how somebody could even fathom eating it. But if you do eat it, you get like a picture on the wall. You get like $1. You sign $1 and you hang it up on the wall. It's a really cool spot. too. So haven't been there in a while, but definitely need to get down there and check that out. Actually went on recommendation from my father-in-law for the first time, so that was a good experience. And then my other one's going to be Bummies, that is located in Newark. They actually kind of just dealt with the same thing I discussed with Martha's. They had a kitchen fire that burnt down their entire location, so they were closed for a year plus, and moving into a new location in Newark at the old Dan's Family Pizza. Which, shout out Dan's Family Pizza. That was a really good pizzeria in Newark too when it was a thing. But now their new location, they're up and running, and I think they're doing a little bit better with that location compared to what they had previously. That was the old one was like a legitimate house. I think they turned that house into a into a restaurant. But it was kind of a cool vibe in there, to be honest with you. It's still a good vibe in the new spot, but it's definitely hole in the wall for Newark in general. But a really really good burger, and yeah, really good food
Oh,
all in all.
great burger there. Always loved Bummies. It was obviously very sad to watch, what happened to them, but ultimately it seems they've bounced back better because of it. So that's always cool to see. And but yeah, their food's great in my opinion. I think they make a great burger. And it's always fun to go there. So I don't get there nearly as often as I would like, but I think that sometimes keeps the mystery, not the mystery, but like kind of this sense of just you love it so much because you just don't overindulge in it. Because sometimes you can get a little. There's been food that I really like, but I've overdone it, and you could stop liking that food pretty quick when you get to that point. So, for me, I got two. One I was talked about last night, and I'm glad I remembered it. But the first one is Munchies. I know this was on Zach's list as well. So Munchies has a pretty cool story. There's a brewery in Newark called the Dank House Brewery, and they have basically like food trucks that come in out back, and Munchies was one of those, and they were like a permanent setup there. And so you really could only get their food if you went. I mean, you could get it to go, but you would go there basically, hang out at Dank House and get some food. So they do tacos, like street tacos. They do a smash burger, which is awesome, and then they do some appetizers and those sort of things. But what happened? They decided they got big enough. I remember one time I went in there, not to like get off of the tangent too much, but I went. I was like, oh man, I would love some munchies, and so I was like, oh, just pull me up to Dank House. I'll run out, and see if I can create like a little order. Just take it to go, whatever. It was like an hour and a half wait to get the food when they were at their food truck location. I was like, oh my goodness. So like that, I think kind of attests to the popularity of it at the time. Like it just became so big that it was like, this is no longer sustainable for us to continue to make this food in this, 10 by, whatever it was, 10 by 3, shipping container. 10 by 6, whatever, and it's just like, so they end up getting an actual location in downtown Newark, and so they still serve that food. I mean, I do like their tacos. I like the chorizo one, but the smash burger is really, I think, ultimately what most people are into, and they have this awesome sauce that goes with it. So if you haven't already, check out Munchies. Again, used to be a food truck, now a restaurant. Awesome food, and it's not spelled like how you'd spell Munchies. It's spelled Mnchs. So be sure, like if you're looking it up and it doesn't come up, that might be why.
It's crazy that you were talking about that last night, because I was talking about it last night with my wife. I
Yeah.
said I can't wait to have two birria tacos and a smash burger here soon
Woo.
at Munchies. I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's good food. And then the other for me is it's gonna go probably more kind of like semi-casual, semi-fine dining, but it's actually a Ghostwriter Public House in Johnstown. It's in their downtown area. I've been two or three times now, and the food is phenomenal there. They have a great selection. It's one of those restaurants where it's like chef prepared, so they come in and they make this menu. They got some fancy words on there and stuff, some stuff you don't really understand when you're reading it necessarily, but when you order it, it all works together in cohesion, and definitely is good for the taste buds. Let's just say that. So we actually had our engagement celebration dinner there with like our family, and so we've really enjoyed the spot. It's got a cool ambiance in there as well, just kind of in an older older building there in Johnstown downtown. So if you haven't already, go definitely check out Ghost Rider Public House. Definitely a really cool place to have dinner, and a little bit more of a laid back. Johnstown's not as big of a city, so it's a good place to go.
You were talking about the beginning of the episode of me putting you on. I think you just put me on right there. That's one
You
that
never been?
I've never been there, and I've heard
Oh yeah,
really,
dude, you
really
got to
good
go
things
check it
about it.
out.
Yeah, I've heard really
Yeah.
good things from other people like in the office and whatnot. But yeah, definitely gonna check that out now because
Oh yeah.
heard really good things.
Well, I'm glad I could put you on, because you put me on to a lot here this episode. So the least I can do is return the favor a little bit. But that's actually pretty surprising that there's something on this list that I've had that you haven't.
For sure, but I appreciate it regardless, absolutely, because again, always trying to try new things and just find new things to put on that list. So I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, guys, I think that is all that we have on the docket for this episode. Hopefully, you guys found some value in our rankings in our lists of each category of restaurants. We really want to hear from you guys specifically too. If there's something that we didn't touch on in a category that you think is the absolute best here in Central Ohio, shoot us a DM, leave a comment. We want to hear about it because we will definitely, kind of revisit it and maybe even check it out and shoot you a message and let you guys know what we think about it too. So want to hear your guys' feedback based on our rankings. If there's anything that we missed, if there's anything, that is standing out to you guys specifically, really just want to hear your guys' feedback on this specific episode. Again, we're going to have this is a little bit of a series for Central Ohio, a best of series. Like we already mentioned, we did the golf courses and this was restaurants. We're going to continue kind of doing the best of Central Ohio as a whole. So really just want to hear you guys' feedback on if you guys agree, disagree, or, any debates or questions, et cetera, et cetera. So appreciate you guys tuning in to this episode, and hopefully you guys found something that you liked here.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We appreciate it. Like Zach said, any suggestions, any places we should check out, we're always looking for some new food spots. So, whether that be, Central Ohio, Columbus area, or even, going a little bit more east towards Newark, just let us know. Love to check them out. So appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Absolutely, guys. Have a great rest of your day.